Right now, somewhere in the world, two people are sitting across from each other, a man and a woman. A normal conversation is happening, at least on the surface, but something deeper is also happening at the same time. She isn't just speaking with words, she's communicating with pauses, with posture, with small unconscious shifts in her body. And the strange part is, he doesn't notice it. To him, everything feels normal, casual, friendly. But later, when the moment is gone, he's left with confusion, trying to replay the interaction in his mind, asking himself, where did it change? If you've ever been in that situation, pay attention, because what you're about to understand isn't about guessing. It's about seeing what was already there. And no, this isn't manipulation. It's awareness of human behavior. Because before a person ever speaks their intention, their body has already started revealing it. The truth is, most men don't miss opportunities because they lack confidence in words. They miss them because they aren't trained to observe silence. Attraction doesn't usually announce itself. It builds quietly through subtle signals most people overlook. Psychological research in human behavior suggests that nonverbal cues often appear before conscious awareness catches up, meaning what someone feels internally can show externally before they even realize it themselves. And here's the important part. These signals are not strategies, not performances, not planned actions. They are natural, unconscious responses that emerge when comfort and attraction start to develop. So, in this breakdown, we're going to look at 4 key areas of the body where these shifts often become visible. But before we go further, there's something you need to understand. The human body is not good at hiding the truth. Words can be controlled, smiles can be performed, but the body, it almost always reveals what's underneath. And that's exactly why this matters. Let's start with the first area, something most men completely overlook: the neck. Not just seeing it, but how it naturally appears in behavior. When a woman slightly tilts her head while listening, or gently moves her hair to one side or leaves one side of her neck subtly exposed for a moment longer than usual, these aren't random movements. From a biological perspective, the neck is one of the most vulnerable areas of the body. It protects vital arteries and airways. So when it's exposed, even unconsciously, it often signals one thing: safety. On a deeper level, the body is communicating, I don't feel threatened here. And comfort always comes before attraction, never after. But it goes even further than that. When a sense of ease starts building, you'll sometimes notice small unconscious behaviors. Lightly touching the neck, adjusting a necklace, or fingers resting there for a few seconds longer than necessary. These aren't calculated actions. They're subtle, instinctive responses. Almost as if the body is drawing attention to a place that represents vulnerability and openness at the same time. And that's where the real signal begins to form. But here's what most people tend to miss. If she's showing openness in her posture, like exposing her neck, and at the same time she's not creating distance, not leaning away, not turning her body out of the interaction, that combination matters, because distance changes everything. And closeness, when it's comfortable, usually says more than words ever could. But there's another signal that's even more subtle, and in many ways more revealing. This one is quiet, almost invisible in everyday interaction. But once you start noticing it, it becomes hard to ignore. When someone is genuinely relaxed around you, their body language shifts in small but consistent ways. You'll see open palms during conversation. You'll notice arms that don't stay tightly closed or guarded. Sometimes, even simple moments, like resting the chin on the hand, will naturally expose the wrist. Why does this matter? Because the inner wrist is one of the more vulnerable areas of the body. People who feel tense or guarded naturally protect it without realizing. But when that protection drops, it often signals something simple: I'm comfortable here. And comfort changes how the body moves. Gestures become slower, softer, less controlled. There's no rush in the movement anymore, just ease. And that kind of ease is usually where deeper connection begins to form. Now, let me ask you something. Just observe your own experience for a moment. Have you ever noticed someone gently adjusting their sleeve, bracelet, or watch while talking to you? Small movements like that often go unnoticed, but they say a lot about internal state. Because individually, this sign doesn't mean everything. But when it starts appearing alongside other signals, it begins to point towards something more consistent. And that's where things become interesting, because the next area is even more direct, yet still often misunderstood. Body part number 3. The legs and feet. And here's where many people get it wrong. It's not about appearance. It's about direction. Feet and legs are often some of the most honest parts of the body, mainly because people rarely think about controlling them. So when someone is genuinely engaged in a conversation, it often shows up there first. If her feet naturally point toward you while you're talking, if her knees subtly angle in your direction, or if she adjusts her position so her lower body stays aligned with yours, that usually reflects attention, not forced attention, natural attention, but there's more to it. When emotional engagement increases, the nervous system doesn't stay still. It creates energy, and the body needs a way to release it. That's when you start noticing small movements, a slight shift of weight from one side to the other, slow crossing and uncrossing of the legs, a foot tapping lightly, not from anxiety, but from subtle energy in the moment. It's not restless behavior. It's more like presence showing itself physically, almost as if the body is quietly saying, something is happening here. And no, it doesn't mean immediate romantic intent or fast conclusions. It simply reflects engagement mentally and physically. Here's something most people overlook. When someone is not interested, their body often does something very consistent. Their feet start pointing away, toward exits, toward distractions, away from the interaction. It's subtle, but it's honest. The body starts leaving before the conversation even ends. But when the legs remain oriented toward you, when there's no urge to shift away, that often signals presence. Not escape, not distraction, just presence. And that leads into something even more important, because the final area ties everything together. Body part number 4, the torso, the center of the body, and in many ways the clearest signal of all. When a woman turns her entire torso toward you, shoulders, chest, and upper body aligned, it reflects a deeper level of engagement. From a psychological perspective, this is significant because the front of the body naturally protects vital areas. So, turning it fully towards someone requires a sense of comfort, even if it's unconscious. Most people, when unsure, angle themselves slightly away. They create space without realizing it. But when attraction or strong comfort is present, that changes. She faces you more directly. She may lean in slightly, adjust her clothing, rest her hands near her midsection or hips. Small movements, but centered around the core of the body. And when you start seeing this together with earlier signals, neck exposure, open wrists, aligned legs, a pattern begins to form. The message becomes clearer. I feel comfortable here. I'm engaged. I'm open in this moment. Not forced, not rushed, just open. And openness is usually where real connection begins. Now, here's something worth understanding. Most men miss these signals not because they don't exist, but because they're not fully present in the moment. Physically there, but mentally somewhere else. Replaying past interactions, rehearsing what to say next, overthinking how they're being perceived. And in that internal noise, they stop noticing what's actually happening in front of them. What if I say the wrong thing and ruin it? That thought alone is where most men lose the moment because as soon as it appears, attention turns inward. Instead of observing her, they start observing themselves. Every word becomes a calculation. Every pause becomes a problem. Every sentence is monitored like a mistake waiting to happen. And in that state, the interaction stops being natural. Meanwhile, something very different is happening in front of them. Her body is still communicating quietly, consistently, comfort, interest, openness. But he's no longer there to read it. Instead, his mind is running in circles like an internal courtroom argument, defending, analyzing, rehearsing, instead of simply being present. And by the time he finally relaxes, the moment has already moved on. Here's the truth most people don't fully accept. Attraction doesn't live in perfect sentences. It doesn't depend on clever lines, and it definitely doesn't come from trying too hard to impress. Attraction lives in something far simpler, your state. How calm you are, how grounded you feel, whether you are actually present or just performing presence, because people don't just hear words. They feel energy. And before logic kicks in, before thoughts are processed, that feeling is already registered. If you're relaxed, aware, and present, it shows. And if you're tense, overthinking, trying to manage every outcome, that shows too. Sometimes in a way more honest than words ever could. And here's something almost ironic. Most men in front of clear signals, while mentally, they're still waiting at a red light asking for advice that they don't actually need. Bro, do you think she likes me? Meanwhile, the answer was already being communicated in real time. The shift happens when you stop trying to control everything and start observing instead. Because confidence isn't something you force. It's something that appears when you're no longer fighting the moment. And in that shift from overthinking to awareness, everything changes. So, how should you respond when you actually notice these signals? The answer is simple. You don't rush. You don't push. You don't force meaning. You slow down. You match the pace of the interaction. You stay grounded. You keep the space comfortable, because real attraction doesn't grow under pressure. It grows in safety. And if those signals are there, the strongest move is often the most controlled one. Stay calm. Stay present. Let things unfold naturally. That is what confidence actually looks like. So, when you bring it all together, the neck reflects comfort. The wrists reflect openness. The legs show direction of attention. The torso shows deeper engagement. One signal alone means curiosity. Multiple signals together start forming interest. And when they appear naturally, it stops being just conversation and becomes connection. Before you move on, just reflect on this. Which of these moments have you seen before but only understood too late? Because awareness is step one, and action always comes after. And once you start noticing them, you won't look at conversations the same way again.